In the opening of the film, we are introduced to a businessperson whose name is Verona. Like every day, he is leaving for his office. He begins to wait for his car to come. When his car comes, he notices that the driver who used to take him daily hasn't come today. Rather, a new driver has come to his place. He feels this thing bad, but still, he sits in the car and goes. After going ahead, their car stops because of much traffic. Because of this, Verona scolds his driver a lot that you should go by another road because there is a lot of traffic here. I'm getting late because I'm having a meeting. Now, the driver turns the radio on which the news air that the condition of the city is too bad because there is destruction everywhere. But Verona wasn't interested in this news. He begins to make notes for his meeting. Later, he has a call which was from his assistant, i.e., his companion. She says, "Sir, the people you were having a meeting with today all have come and they are large in number. Everyone is asking about you. Where are you?" After a while, he reaches his office. Here, his worker comes who was a new employee. So, she brings coffee for Verona. Verona talks to her in a good way. Verona goes from there in the lift where he meets another girl who once used to be his friend and now she is a worker in his company. Verona talks to her with a smile and tries to go to her. The girl refuses him by saying that there is nothing between us by now. Now, apart from our work, we shouldn't talk any nonsense. Please don't try to be frank with me. Verona smiles and says, "Oh, this is the matter, but I didn't think like this. You also don't think. You are a good friend of mine." Saying this, he holds her and tries to misbehave with her. Because of this, the girl gets angry and she presses Verona's hand hard. Because of this, he leaves her. The girl goes out of the lift, but Verona keeps smiling. The lift was locked and he pressed the button of his office. Then the lift begins to go up. Then he has his wife's call. He picks up the call and begins to talk to his wife. Then the lights of the lift begin to have a problem. Along with this, the lift was stopped. He wasn't worried and he disconnected his wife's call and talked to the technician. He tells him to make the lift. "My meeting is going to be started." They check the whole system and tell him that there is a problem with the roof. Because of this, the lift was stopped. "Now, we are sending many mechanics on the roof. They'll fix the problem. You become relaxed." Verona calls his assistant. She asks, "Where are you, sir?" Clients are getting worried. They're fed up with waiting and talking about going back. "Now what do I do?" On this, he says to stop the clients. "For which do whatever you've to do. Clients shouldn't go, I'm just coming." During their conversation, he begins to hear a strange type of voice. He talks to the technician again who says, "Sir, we tried to turn on the generator, but it didn't." Then the strange types of voices begin to come from there. When the mechanics look in front of them, they shout out of fear. The phone disconnects there. From all these things, Verona was also getting upset. He begins to think that I've to get out of here. After putting his coat off, he tries to open the lift door. He opens the first door easily. The second door was quite powerful. After putting in a lot of power, he could only open a little. Only his head could come out of it. He puts his head out and sees that this floor is quite empty. There is no human here. Still, he puts his head out and calls for help. Once again, his phone rang. It was a call from his wife. He picks her call up and begins to talk to her. She tells him that it is being told on the news that there is destruction in the whole city. "I'm quite afraid, because someone has been knocking at our door for a long time." Verona says, "Don't worry, call the police instantly." On this, his wife replies, "Yes, I did many times. But their number is quite busy." On this, Verona says, "Okay, I am sending my friend to you." Saying this, he says to his friend, "Go to my house immediately, it is an emergency. My wife needs help." Hearing this, his friend leaves. After coming to the road, he begins to tell that there is a big queue of traffic. "I could be late reaching." Later, he again calls his wife, who is more afraid. "My heart is getting worried." He doesn't believe his wife. Later, he begins to watch the news on his mobile. He comes to know that something happens to the people of the city suddenly. They've become quite cruel that they're attacking each other. They are gnashing at each other and thirsting for blood. Apart from this destruction, the condition of the city is too bad. The buildings are set to fire, especially the labs. He was watching this news when he heard a noise from outside. Verona peeps outside to check and sees that people are running after being scared. He waves his hands and asks for help, but no one stops to help him. Suddenly, a girl falls near him. When she turns her face to Verona, then it is found that she is no one else but Verona's friend. She asks for help, that please pull me inside. Hearing this, Verona holds her to help her and tries to pull her inside. but someone else was also pulling her from outside. Verona puts a lot of power to bring her inside, but that human brings her with him. Verona could not see his face. Who was he? But he was quite afraid. He does not understand what he should do. He could continuously hear strange voices from outside. With courage, he begins to go to the door slowly. Suddenly, two strange people come in front of the door. They were looking pretty bloody, because they had become zombies. Seeing them, Verona becomes afraid and sits aside. He kept them looking and he was not believing his eyes. He became shocked, because he understood the whole matter. The city is destroying and breaking down and the situation is getting worse, and this is all because of the zombie virus. Both of the zombies try to enter inside. Meanwhile, they heard the sound of a human and they went behind that human and left Verona. Meanwhile, Verona gets a call from his friend who says, "Tell me what to do, I have come to your house." Verona was quite confused, as his friend was ignorant of the truth and he tried to tell him the whole matter about what is happening there. But his friend does not understand anything. What is he trying to say? Meanwhile, the technician calls him again and tells him, "The mechanics we had sent, we have no contact with them. The lift would not have been fixed. Sorry for the inconvenience, sir." He tries to explain the matter to the technician. He too does not get anything. Then a zombie girl comes and holds Verona's neck. He was pretty scared and tried to get himself released, but she was not leaving him at all. He gets himself released and puts himself aside. The zombie tries to get inside. Verona became afraid to see this. He holds a rod and begins to hit the zombie. He attacks her many times with the rod, from which she dies there. But the blood of the zombie was entering inside. Not only this, but the dress of Verona was soaked with blood. So he brings a water bottle and begins to wash him. So no one could consider him a zombie. He takes a rod and puts her body aside. He returns and sits on the floor. He brings the cigarette from his pocket and begins to smoke. He sees that the whole lift is filled with blood. So he brings the files from the bag, tears the pages, and keeps on the blood. So the blood does not spread further. He again hears a sound, and when he checks, there was his new worker there. As she sees Verona, she comes closer. He makes her understand to talk slowly. Otherwise, zombies will come again. Later, he says that we've to open the lift's door at any cost. Now, both of them begin to open the door with power. Unfortunately, both of them can't open the door. During this, the iron rod falls down from Verona's hand. From a loud sound was created. He gets scared because he knows that the zombies will be coming here. He begins to pull the worker inside the lift, as the way was too little so she cannot come inside. Meanwhile, zombies begin to come there. Because of this, the worker runs from there. Now, all the zombies were entering inside. Because of this, Verona gets afraid. He becomes alert by taking the rod in his hands. Then someone kills all the zombies one by one. Meanwhile, the worker comes there again. It is revealed that it was the worker who killed all the zombies. After killing them, both get much happy. They begin to laugh. But the happiness does not suit them, because two zombies come and attack her. They bite her badly and take her with them. Seeing this, Verona shouts, because he couldn't do anything to help her. He feels really sad because of her death. He becomes alone once again. He begins to worry about his wife. He calls her, but she doesn't pick up the call after many attempts. He breaks completely. He sits there down and begins to cry there. But after a while, his wife picks up his call. Verona takes a breath of relief. She begins to tell him that I was locking up all the doors and windows. That's why I couldn't pick up the call. As she was talking, and a lot of zombies come by breaking the door and attacking his wife. She was left crying. Listening to her voice, Verona once again found herself quite melancholic. He watches the news and comes to know that the army and the police have spread in the whole city. They're killing the zombies and saving the humans. Verona sees another man coming toward the lift. As he comes closer, it comes to know that he was a worker in Verona's office. He begins to say that I also wanted to come into the life. Saying this, he tries to get into the lift. Verona tries to make him understand that don't try, it is useless. It is not possible to enter with this small place. But the man keeps on, but a lot of zombies come there. Seeing them, the man runs from there. Zombies were also coming in front of the lift. Verona was already angry with them and he shouted, because he knows that these zombies can't enter inside. He keeps on shouting at them. Hearing his loud voice, many zombies begin to come at the door of the lift. Seeing them, Verona takes a rod and begins to attack their heads. By attacking many times, he kills many zombies. Then he sees a human coming toward the lift. He comes to know that she is no one else but his assistant. She was quite afraid and was asking for help, because there were many zombies behind her. She goes into an office to save her life. She was about to close the door. Then a lot of zombies enter the office. They attack her together, and this is how she also died. Seeing this, Verona shouts again, because he couldn't do anything to save her too. After a while, when he gets normal, he takes his mobile. And there was a video of the reporter. She was informing that because of the bad circumstances, all the news channels have been closed. That's why I am making a live video. This zombie virus is spreading fast. If someone wants to save his life, he has to leave the city. Verona was watching this video and there were no fewer problems. That the light of this area goes. Verona gets more worried, because he was afraid that these zombies will come inside. Then someone was killing the zombies by shooting. He was shooting their head and killing them. Verona waves his hand out and asks him for help. It comes to know that he is a police officer. He comes to Verona and asks, "Are you injured? Has some virus bitten you?" He says, "No, I've been stuck here before the zombies." The police officer tells him that I'd come here to help the people. My companions had come with me, but now I'm disconnected from them. Verona tells him, "Please help me. Open the lift," and the police officer tries to open the lift. But after a lot of courage, the lift was not opened. The officer realized that the lift will not open in this way. He tells Verona that I'm going up and will open the lift from there. He gives him a walkie-talkie, which is a device like a phone. In addition to that, she hands him a gun and says, "If a zombie comes here after I go, shoot him in the head, because they die after being shot in the head. Just wait, I'll be back after fixing the lift." During this time, whoever was coming in front of the officer, he was killing him. As he was going upside, so Verona tells him to be careful, as many staff people went upside and haven't returned. Meanwhile, the officer comes near the generator. He tries to turn it on. All the electricity was restored. The electricity of the lift was turned on too. The lift wasn't locking up. Seeing this, Verona understands that there must be some problem here. It comes to know that there is something stuck in the doors of the lift. That's why the doors are not locking. Verona tries to bring that thing out. Meanwhile, the zombies come and attack him. Verona gets afraid and puts himself aside. The officer tells him where the gun is. It must be here. Pick it up and kill them. He picks up the gun and shoots them. He directly shoots them in their heads and they died. After killing them, Verona becomes pretty emotional. He felt bad, because they all used to work in his office before. The officer explains to him that they're not your friends. They're thirsty for our blood, because your friends have died long ago. Don't be sad for them. During their conversation, Verona hears a lot of zombie sounds on the call. Along with this, the officer's voice stops. Seeing this, he thinks that he might have lost the officer. Once again, he feels quite sad. He gets disappointed and sits on the ground. The time passes like this, and it was night. He gets so angry that he loudly shouts. Hearing his voice, many zombies come there. Seeing them, Verona tries to shoot him by putting a gun in his mouth. Before he fires, he hears the officer's voice. He wasn't dead but was alive. Hearing his sound, Verona stands up. It comes to know that the officer is on the roof. He tells him to open the roof of the lift. That works as an emergency exit. Verona takes a rod and hits on the roof. Finally, he opens. After opening the roof, the officer comes inside. First of all, he kills all the zombies by firing them blindly. Later, he sits on the ground with Verona. He says, "Sadly, I have to tell you that a zombie has bitten me." Verona feels sad and he asks where did this all start from. He tells him that someone has made this zombie virus for an experiment. When it was being tested, the human began to become zombies. Since then, the virus spiraled out of control. Whomever the zombie bites, the person becomes a zombie. Not only in our city, but this virus spreads into the whole world. After telling this, both begin to talk about their families. The officer takes his gun, and after loading it, he gives it to Verona. He tells him that I'm going to sleep, and when I sleep, hit 2 bullets in my head. From this, I'll die as I don't want to be a zombie. Hearing this, Verona refuses that I can't do this. I can't kill you. The officer says, okay, then I have to do this. But Verona stops him from doing this. He takes his gun and seeing this, the officer punches his mouth hard. He became faint. After a while, when Verona wakes up, he sees that the officer sleeps. So he became relaxed. After a while, when the virus spreads in the officer's body, the officer too became a zombie. He became dangerous and deadly. He holds Verona and tries to bite him, even though he doesn't want, but he has to kill him to save his life. He shoots 1 bullet in his body and 2 bullets in his head, from which he died too. But during this time, Verona was shot in the leg. Because of this, he became injured. Later, he sees, after hearing gun sounds, that many zombies are coming here. He begins to shoot at them, for many zombies were killed. As his gun was out of bullets, he takes the officer's gun that has many bullets and he begins to fire blindly. He was shooting their heads. So zombies were killed at once. Killing them, he was going back. Suddenly his feet slip and he falls down and faints. After a while, when he wakes up, he sees that there is no zombie left, only their bodies are scattered. Later, he receives a call from a number. As soon as he picks that up, his wife was speaking. Verona gets happy that my wife is alive. She tells him that the army has saved my life. Now, I'm in their camp. Soon his mobile battery became low, and the call disconnected. But he was pretty happy because his wife was alive. He wants to go out somehow. He takes up the rod and begins to bring the stuck thing out. That has locked the doors. Soon, he was successful to bring that thing out. He opens the door. He can't believe that I've done this. He comes out soon. He comes to the hall and sees the destruction everywhere. Meanwhile, a zombie girl comes there. Her both legs were cut. She was coming to Verona. But without wasting his time, he begins to hit her with his feet. He hits her many times that the zombie girl dies. He comes to the road and sees the whole city is in bad condition. A zombie girl also comes here. As she moves forward to attack Verona, she was hit by a bullet in her head. As a result, she dies. Now, the army has shot her because they're everywhere. That was killing the zombies and saving the humans. Seeing them, Verona gets hope. He begins to wave his hands. So he can tell them that I'm quite safe and sound. So come and save me too. So I could go to the army camp, where all the survivors are kept, and I could meet my wife. By waving his hands, he moves on. The film ends with this.